Good evening. I want to welcome everyone to SPED 805 Zoom for the second 8-week session. I wanted to go over a few things this evening. Just kind of give you a broad overview of the class, kind of the expectations, assignments we're going to cover. I'm going to spend some time this evening just kind of reviewing the course syllabus, go over the first assignment, which is a group assignment, kind of explain that. And then we'll kind of proceed from there. So if you look at your syllabus for week one, basically the only thing you have to do coming up this Sunday would be the introduction. Then during this week, also I'm going to encourage you to go ahead after the Zoom session this evening and get registered in one of the three groups that will be available through a self enrollment. And get registered for a group to participate in a group assignment, group interview project, which I'll cover the details on that in just a few moments. After you guys complete the group interview, we will focus on three assessments through this 8-week course. The first will be informal assessments, which you will learn how to just identify informal assessments. Could be any area of the curriculum. And you will practice administering those and collecting some data and then formulating a report to go along with it. After we move through and study informal assessments, we will transition into studying more formalized assessments, what we refer to those as norm-referenced assessments. Most norm-reference assessments do require additional credentials or certifications in order to administer those, to be qualified to administer those. Most commonly found among school psychologists or school psychometrists. There are some other assessments that schools use that are more computerized, such as math testing, that is considered norm referenced, in addition to star reading and math. We'll get into a little bit more detail about that when we start focusing on it in week 5. The last type of assessment that we'll focus on during this course will be the curriculum-based measurements or CBM assessments, and I always refer to that kind of somewhat a glorified informal assessment. But during the study and focus on CBMs, we're going to ask you to obtain or acquire, select some probes. Probe is basically another name for assessment. And we're going to ask you to administer that over a period of about 7 to 10 days and try to get what we consider 4 to 6 data points to monitor growth of the student, determine if we need to implement interventions and modifications to current content that student is studying, and to realign or readjust our curriculum and readjust our instruction to meet the needs of the student. After we've completed the three assessments that we focused on, you've already collected the data and submitted that in the form of a formalized report. In addition to those assessment reports, we'll ask you to take the data each time you administer that and develop a lesson plan based on the data for that specific assessment. So in addition to 3 assessment reports, informal, norm reference, curriculum-based, you also have a lesson plan that accompanies that. We have the templates in the course shell in the SPED 805 resources folder. After you administer those assessments, we're going to, for the final exam or the final project, we're going to ask you to submit a mock IEP video. Essentially, you're going to present the information you've collected and data in the informal, norm referenced, and CBM. You're going to present that to the team as if they were sitting in that mock meeting with you. You're going to present and explain the assessment you administered, strengths and weaknesses that you determined based on the data you collected for each of the assessments, make some recommendations for their curriculum and the content that they learn, and even offer some suggestions on future testing for consideration and services. And so that mock IEP video is recommended 10 to 15 minutes in order to cover all the information and present it thoroughly based on the outline that we'll provide for you to do that. If you look at the syllabus based on the breakdown for each week, all the assignments that I have through this course are due on Sunday evenings at midnight. I do this for a reason. I know you guys are working adults, dealing with family, trying to balance home life, professional life, and graduate school. Things happen during the week. I understand that. And I get it. That's why I always have it due Sunday at midnight to give you guys some time to kind of focus on that Saturday, Sunday, if you had kind of a rough week trying to catch up. Okay. Course, total point value for this course is 1,000 points. There's a breakdown in this syllabus, shows introduction, which you're doing that this week, and the discussion board, getting to know your classmates. You'll have an initial post based on the guidelines that are given, information we're asking you to put. We're asking you to respond to at least 2 colleagues in the class. You'll have weekly participation points if you attend the live Zoom sessions. I will have you sign in via the chat box. And then after the session is over, I take the names out of the chat box and then assign the participation points. If you're unable to attend a live session, I always record those and I post them in the course shell. And I will have in the course shell, there will be folders that say week 1 participation, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, 6, 7, and 8. Whatever week you miss, you review the Zoom video that week, and there will be some short answer questions. Usually there are 2 questions for that particular week. Each question may have a 2 to 3 answer response on it. So it's just kind of basically the information, key points that I covered during that particular Zoom session that you missed. If you have things going on during the week, you're getting behind. Again, I understand you're working adults, trying to balance multiple aspects of life, work life, home life, and you're getting behind. Please communicate with me. Let me know. I will work with you, give you some extensions on those assignments if you communicate with me in advance. Just don't wait till Sunday night, 10 o'clock, email me. Kind of a difficult or challenging time to offer that extension that late. Okay. I check emails twice a day. I'm an early morning guy, so oftentimes I'm checking those between 5:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. Then I will come back sometime after 5 p.m. that same day and check them again. So if you send an email in the middle of the day, just know that it'll be 5 o'clock or after when I respond. If you send it late at night, it'll be on that early morning round when I check emails that very next day. Okay, now that we've covered some of that, I want to focus on your first task or assignment, and really want to encourage you after this Zoom meeting to go ahead and self-enroll in a group and start communicating with that group just to kind of get to know each other. I would strongly encourage you also to take the guiding questions. I'm going to show you where they're located. It is located at the bottom of page 7 in the syllabus, and also at the top of page 8. There are some bulleted points with guidelines or guiding questions for that person you're going to interview. That individual be someone in your district, could be that's related to special education or special services, special ed director, veteran special education teacher. If you're in a larger district and you have a school psychologist or a school psychometrist, you can ask to interview them or ask them to answer the questions for you. You can see the bulleted points here, the guiding questions. These are the ones that you'll need to ask and collect your information. As you start to compile the assignment, each of you in the group will ask these individual questions to your person that you're interviewing and collect that data. Then, after you do that, you're going to collaborate with your group and condense all your information into one single paper. And then one group member will submit that paper on behalf of the group. As you register in the group, your name is tied to that group. So once that submission's made, it will show that the assignment has been submitted on behalf of all group members. Okay. The only individual submission for this assignment is we're asking each group member to complete a peer assessment collaboration rubric. So literally, you're going to list your group members on the rubric, and you're going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 4. based on some objectives on how your peers participated. Also on that rubric, we're going to ask you to list your own name and do a self-evaluation of yourself and how you perceive yourself to contribute to that group project. Each group member will submit that individual rubric. Comes to me, your group members don't see it. I'm the only one that sees that. Okay, so make sure you do the rubric and also include yourself on that. Again, the questions to guide your interview are located at the bottom of page 7 here on your syllabus and carries over to the top of page 8. I will show you where to find an example. I do have an example of a previous group interview report that was submitted from another course a couple semesters ago in the course shell, so you can kind of see how to lay out the report. You will have an introduction section, and these are the items that we're looking for in the introduction, talking a little bit about the person each of you interviewed, a little bit about their background, the experience, the date you interviewed them. The next section you're going to cover in that report, after you condense all your information together, is types of assessment. Asking about what types of assessment they are responsible for being involved with in your district. Okay, and the criteria for selecting those. Oftentimes, districts have their preference for specific assessments that are used. The next section will be assessment administration. You will explain the qualifications required to administer those, depending on what type of assessment it is. You also talk a little bit about the frequency in which tests are administered. Is it a formalized test that's used for initial placement and reevals? We're limited to the frequency in which we can use those. Okay, we have time constraints on that. Also, we're going to ask you to identify the 8-step in the assessment process. Again, remember, we can't just out of the clear blue decide, hey, we need to test little Johnny because he failed his reading test. We think he has a learning disability in reading. It doesn't work that way. Specific steps, processes that we have to go through, interventions before we even get to recommendation for testing. Okay. Also in this section, you're going to try to determine or identify at least 3 technological considerations when assessing students with exceptionalities. Okay, is there any technological considerations that need to be taken into account? The next section will be legalities and working with families of diversity. We'll discuss any sections of IDA that specifically addresses assessment, the role of the family in the assessment. We hope that the family is involved. So a little bit about your person's experience through that, and also discuss methods of assessment for students who speak other languages if you have a lot of diversity in your school district. The example I always give is I'm a psychometrist. I'm the one that comes in to test. They expect me to test a student who is non-English speaking. So if I move forward and test that individual, obviously language barrier, the results are not going to be good. If we move forward and do that, then we have misidentified that student. So oftentimes districts have to get an interpreter to make sure that student truly understands the information that's being presented to them if they are non-English speaking. Then we'll have a conclusion section. You're going to discuss some key ideas that were garnered through your interviews, and we're going to tie key points to a specific purpose. And then a reflection. Well, as a group, we're going to talk a bit about what was learned about assessments in special education, discuss how assessments guide practice and instruction. Also, we're going to discuss a little bit briefly about the importance of assessment special education and explain how your viewpoint on how the information you gathered and collected collectively as a group would impact the way that you administer assessments moving forward. Many of you maybe at this point in time in your career have not had a lot of experience with assessment. So we hope that if you do administer any type of assessment, informal, norm reference, or curriculum-based measurements, that you look at that data to determine if your student is progressing in a positive direction. We don't want to just assume that they are getting the information and continue doing what we're doing instructionally. If we do that, and the student indeed is not grasping the content that we're presenting, then, and we're moving forward without monitoring that, we're just creating and widening that existing deficiency gap. So very important to analyze data, look at it, and adjust our instruction. Okay, let it guide our instruction. Okay, so that's a little bit about the interview. Also, remember the collaboration rubric that you'll submit. Here's a breakdown on the points and the things that I'll be looking for. If you follow the outline that I was presented and also look at the scoring rubric to make sure that you've covered all points, you will do just fine. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is stop screen share, and I'm going to go over and open up my course shell real quick and show you where to locate a couple items. Bear with me just a minute here. Kind of show you where to locate the items, where to sign up for the groups to get you started. Take just a second here for it to switch. Seems like it never fails when I try to have the course shells open to where I can just switch my screens from one to the next. I always have some delays, so get into that. So load now. It'll pop up in just a second there for you. Course shell open if I can get over to my Zoom now. So when you first open up the course shell, you're going to see at the top upper right hand corner. If you go across the top, you will see a tab that says groups. You will click on that and it will give you the option to enroll in interview group 1, interview group 2, or interview group. So my screen is still having trouble, but I'm going to go ahead and continue on. Looks like it's trying to pop up now where you can see it. There we go. So it should be visible for you to see screen share. So again, I'm circling around the group tab that I just mentioned at the top of the course shell. You'll just click on groups here at the top, and that's where you'll register. If you scroll down the course shell, you'll see where you submit assignments here. This is where you'll submit each assignment. It'll be tabbed. It'll say group interview project. It'll say informal assessment report, peer collaboration rubric, informal assessment, norm reference report, mock IEP. Then we get down to learning modules. This is where I want to show you. We're in module 1 at the beginning. It is 2 weeks. It's pretty short. But right underneath that, you will see, we'll get into, it should show if you click on it, you will see example of the group interview. That is an example for you to look at to kind of guide you when your group puts the report together. As I mentioned earlier, I uploaded a project that was submitted in a previous semester by a group. It was well laid out, well put together. It covered all areas of the rubric well, so it gives you kind of a guide as you are writing your report collectively as a group. Remember, you're going to submit one paper collectively as a group. If you look at the guidelines on the rubric, just so you understand and provide some clarity, when you get ready to submit all your information, it's going to ask you each group member to include or provide their interview questions and answers. So you're going to include that in this paper. So by the time you get ready to go and upload your assignment, don't be surprised if that document you're submitting is upward of 25 to 30 pages. And a bulk of that is going to be the supporting documents, group interview or the individual interview questions with answers. You're submitting that. So again, don't be surprised if that document is about 25 pages long. The body of the report, as you will see when you look at this example, it's about 3.5, maybe 4 pages by the time you address those key points. Okay, so just don't be shocked when you're ready to submit. Each week, we'll have folders. Each folder will have a slide deck. So after tonight, after we get through the introduction, moving forward in weeks 2 through 8, I will focus on those slide decks because it has some really good information as we're focusing on the individual assessments that we're studying. And so they're great resources. So just know we'll use those during our Zoom discussions. So as we move forward. And each week's laid out. It's very easy to navigate through. You'll see, as I mentioned, the first 2 weeks will be module 1. Then the module 2 will be 5 weeks after that. And then module 3 will be 1 week. So to make up the 8. One thing I do want to mention, just to kind of help get the ball rolling a little bit, after tonight, please go in and register for a group and start the process because this is an extremely busy time of the year in your district. We're getting close to the end of the school. There's lots of activities, lots of distractions. I strongly encourage you to get registered after Zoom this evening and go ahead and determine or select the person you want to interview and then go ahead and start that process. Also, see who your group members are and reach out to them via email. A couple of suggestions to help lower frustration levels for this group project because it's a virtual class. One is I strongly would encourage you as a group to establish a shared Google Doc template that you're going to put or drop your information in. Each group member has perhaps different responsibilities in their district and trying to balance life. One group member, their key time that they can focus on graduate studies may be late at night. Another group member, their peak time to study and work on graduate studies might be early in the morning. Another one might be during their planned period that's tied into lunch. And so they can be putting in their information and building that report. But in addition to that, also, I'll always encourage groups to at least once, if not twice, during this window of time that you're collaborating, to schedule a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting to just touch base with each other, talk through a couple things, just provide clarification to avoid any confusion, and also keep frustration levels at a minimum. You're having that communication. And then the rest of the time you can be working on your Google Doc and accessing that, putting your information in and taking care of your responsibilities for that. Okay, so that will pretty much wrap us up for this evening, just providing the overview, showing you some things in the course shell, where to find the information, and also getting you started on the group project. So again, here's your group project where you'll find the self-enrollment. There are 3 groups. Each group is capped at 5 members. There are 14 students in the course. So one group will have less, obviously, than the 5. And once that group is full, it will not allow anyone else to enroll in that or self-enroll. So please, I encourage you to get started on that and register and go ahead and move forward and select the person you want to interview. Again, remember, I check emails twice a day, early in the morning and then after 5 o'clock. If you're having a rough week and you're getting behind and you see you have trouble making the deadline, please reach out to me by email, communicate with me, and I will work with you on that. If you have any questions moving forward, please send me an email and I'll provide any clarifications and guidance that I can. So I look forward to working with you through these next 8 weeks. This will be a very quick course. Also remember, I want to emphasize, I can't remember if I said this earlier, all assignments for this course will be due on Sunday at midnight, with the exception of the final assignment, which is the mock IEP. And you'll turn in the CBM on a Sunday. If you look at the syllabus, that's week 7. And then the final, which is the mock IEP video, is due Wednesday at 4. It takes time to go through the videos and score those, and time for us to score them and then get grades submitted, because on our end we have to have those grades in and submitted. That's also graduation week, so that's why we always cut that final assignment off and have it due on a Wednesday, whether you take it during the first 8 weeks or the second 8 weeks. So look forward to working with you. Please email if you have any questions. Thank you. You guys have a good evening and a good rest of your week. Thank you.